In the far corner of the world, where the sun rarely breaks through ash-laden skies, lay the Kingdom of Dreadmire, a land of barren wastelands and twisted forests. Its people were ruled by the iron fist of King Malvorn the Unyielding, a tyrant whose cruelty was legendary. Dreadmire was built on suffering. The kingdom's wealth came from enslaving neighboring villages, forcing captives to toil in the sulfur mines that blackened the land. Under Malvorn's rule, no dissent was tolerated, and mercy was a forgotten word. Malvorn's castle, Blackspire Keep, loomed like a nightmare over the capital city of Cravenhold. The keep's spires pierced the skies, and its walls were adorned with the banners of fallen enemies, each marked by a blood-red handprint. Every month, the king demanded a tribute from his subjects: gold, grain, or bodies for his army. Those who failed to meet his demands were publicly punished in the Square of Despair, where executions and floggings were routine. The citizens of Dreadmire lived in constant fear. The king's black guard, clad in spiked armor and wielding cruel weapons, patrolled the streets, rooting out anyone who dared speak against the crown. The slightest whisper of rebellion was met with swift and brutal retribution. Malvorn's cruelty extended even to the land itself. He ordered entire forests to be burned to deny potential enemies resources and diverted rivers to flood neighboring villages. The kingdom's borders expanded through scorched earth tactics, leaving nothing but ruins in its wake. But even in the darkest of times, hope can find a way to grow. In the shadow of Blackspire Keep, a resistance began to form. Kyle, a former soldier who had once served in the Black Guard, could no longer stomach the atrocities committed in Malvorn's name. Kyle gathered others who had suffered under Malvorn's rule: farmers whose lands were salted, miners whose families were enslaved, and even defectors from the Black Guard. They called themselves the Ashen Dawn, a flicker of light in the kingdom's endless night. Their first act of defiance was to sabotage one of the king's convoys, freeing prisoners being transported to the mines. It was a small victory, but it sent a message. Malvorn's rule was not absolute. When news of the rebellion reached Malvorn, his rage was boundless. He ordered the annihilation of 3 villages suspected of harboring rebels. His armies marched through the land, leaving death and despair in their wake. But the Ashen Dawn grew stronger. Using guerrilla tactics and their intimate knowledge of Dreadmire's harsh terrain, they began to chip away at the king's forces. Kyle, for every life Malvorn has taken, for every soul he has enslaved, we fight today. The battle was fierce, and though many fell, the Ashen Dawn managed to breach Blackspire Keep itself. Kale confronted Malvorn in the throne room, where the tyrant awaited with his blade drawn. King Malvorn, you dare challenge the King of Dreadmire? You are nothing but dust beneath my boots. Kale, and yet dust is enough to choke you. In a climactic duel, Kale struck down the tyrant, ending Malvorn's reign of terror. With Malvorn's death, the people of Dreadmire tore down the banners of the Iron Hand and began the arduous process of rebuilding their kingdom. The land was scarred, and the people bore deep wounds, but the reign of cruelty was over. Under the leadership of the Ashen Dawn, Dreadmire began to heal, proving that even in the darkest times, the seeds of hope and sprout and grow.